Hello and welcome to Cartola FC English, the only English content on Cartola FC. My name is Sean. Let's get into Game Week 14. We will start with a review of last week. Pretty much 100 points for me. It was a nice week. I did have Cunha, who came in big with 17. Arrascaeta as well. It was almost 38 points above the average, but for my rank, top 50k, it was slightly below, so I did drop about 500 places. Did gain almost $8, so we're looking good money wise. Yeah, it was average week for me. Did get lucky with Arrascaeta, big haul. Cunha, as I mentioned, for Flamengo came up big, as well as Chiquinho Suarez, my captain. Hulk did score as well. It was a nice week for me, but let's move on to the next week. Here is the team attack XG. Gremio still in the top spot, 2.38 XG. That is very impressive, even without Suarez last week. Atletico Paranaense, Vitor Roque is on fire. Vitor Bueno is also a nice pick going forward. Palmeiras in third, and America Mineiro. Surprisingly, they did score a brace and had a bunch of chances last week against Atletico, so that was nice for them. And they have a nice matchup this week. Other teams of note, Fluminense still in the bottom half, along with Flamengo, and then Cuiabá down there at the bottom. They have a nice matchup, but it's tough to trust them being the 20th attacking team. And the team tied with them, Sao Paulo, is 19th. Sao Paulo has been impressive, and they have had some results recently, but not creating a lot of chances. And Santos, they're in 18th. They have a nice matchup as well, but tough to trust a team that only creates 1 XG per match in the last 5. Team defense, Bragantino in the top spot. And they do face Sao Paulo this week, so that could be an interesting matchup to target. Despite Sao Paulo being a strong team, Bragantino is in form. They've won 5 in their last 5 all competitions, so they are doing well. Other teams of note, Sao Paulo, they're in second defensively. Vasco da Gama, Atletico Paranaense, Cuiabá, and Santos, they're in that top tier. Teams at the bottom that we might target, Flamengo still at the bottom, and they face Palmeiras this week. Very interesting matchup there with those, maybe the 2 favorites to win the league before the season started. We do have Grêmio and Botafogo in the top 2 spots. Fortaleza, Coritiba, and Bahia there at the bottom. And surprisingly, Palmeiras, they're in 16th. Here are the matchups for this week. We'll start with the first 2 matches of the week, and we will know those lineups. Cuiabá at home to Bahia. Vasco da Gama at home to Cruzeiro. Not very strong teams, and they haven't really been in form, but could have some options as we will know those lineups. Atletico Mineiro at home to Corinthians. Mineiro is kind of disappointed recently, and they will be without Hulk this week. Coritiba at home to America. 2 teams that have kind of struggled, but America could have some options here this week. We'll take a look at those. And then we have 2 huge matchups this week. Palmeiras at home to Flamengo, and Grêmio at home to Botafogo. So 2 matchups that are very, very important as far as the title race goes. And we will have those games here. Santos at home to Goiás. Santos could provide some defensive options. Fluminense home to Inter. Fluminense have been very disappointing, and Inter have kind of picked up a little bit of form of recent, so don't know if I want to go for the Fluminense options. And then this matchup, Bragantino at home to Sao Paulo. Sao Paulo is in the Copa Brazil. They played a quarterfinal against Palmeiras in the midweek. Bragantino did not. And then Sao Paulo has the second leg coming up this week. So reason to believe they will prioritize their cup match. They do have 1-0 lead against Palmeiras. And then Bragantino's in great form. They have a home match here. Could have some options here. Fortaleza at home to Atlético Paranaense. And we mentioned before, Grêmio at home to Botafogo. Here's a look at the players suspended this week. So the ever reliable Marlon will be out of the lineup. Does have that yellow card suspension. Vitor Roque, John Arias, Hulk. Those top 4 players would be really good options this week, and they will miss the week. So in a week where we have the top 4 teams facing each other, kind of decreases the options quite a bit, especially when you consider these top 4 players in the, Hulk, Marlon, Vitor Roque, John Arias. They're going to miss the week as well. So other players of note, American Mineiro, Alucio will miss the match. That's a nice matchup against Coritiba, because you can see Coritiba will be without their goalkeeper and some other players as well. Midfielder Andre, another midfielder, and a center back. So they're going to be without some players against American Mineiro, who looked kind of impressive last week against Atlético Mineiro. Here's the attackers XG table. Paulinho is going to be playing striker. He did miss last week due to some bureaucratic issues, nonsense. He's going to be back this week at home to Corinthians. 0.62 XGA, pretty good price. I do like him as a nice option, especially Hulk's going to be out this week, so more minutes probably for Paulinho. Canobio for Paranaense is a nice option with Roque out. 0.60 XGA, pretty impressive. Low MPV, very low price if you're looking for a budget enabler. Eduardo Sasha's been on fire. 0.58 for Bragantino. Do like him. Despite the high MPV, he's a nice pick, and he's in very good form. Luis Suarez, we don't know for sure if he's going to play. If he does play against Botafogo, I do like him as an option. Highest average out of all these players, and does shoot quite a bit, as we know. I do like him. Chiquinho Suarez, obviously, very good form so far this season, but a tough road match against Grêmio. However, Chiquinho Suarez, all it takes is 1 or 2 chances per match. He could be invisible other than that, but he'll still end up with a goal or 2. Dudu, home to Flamengo. Flamengo, we saw, is last place in the XG conceded. So I do like Dudu. Artur might have a little bit of an injury. Rony and Endrick, not sure on who's going to start there. So I do like Dudu as a pick for Palmeiras. Santos has a couple options. Marcus Leonardo and Mendoza. I do have a bit lower XGA. Along there with Cano. Cano's going to be a popular option this week. Very disappointing so far this season in his follow-up to a very impressive and, leading goal scorer campaign last season. Did have a hat trick in the Libertadores, but I might stay away from Cano this week with some other options. Midfielders, Vitor Bueno has been a favorite in this XGA table all season. Did not go with him last week, and he did score. Very unfortunate there. Should be on penalties as well. So he has a road matchup this week against, I think it's Fortaleza. Tough place to play. So yeah, and without Vitor Roque as well. Rafael Vega up there, 0.59 XGA. He's going to be a nice option this week. Benitez for American Mineiro. I do like high XGA, cheap player, bit of a high MPV at 6.4, but really good option this week. On Cartola, he's questionable to start, but I will have him in my lineup. RS Caeta, nice double return last week, does face a tough Palmeiras team with a high MPV, so I will avoid him. Grêmio has those 2 midfielders, Bitelo and Cristaldo. Cristaldo's on penalties. Very good options there. I do like them as picks, and they do have a home match. Jerison away to Palmeiras I'd avoid, and some of the other players, Evangelista, Pikachu, and Zaracho, too low XGA for me. Fullbacks, Marcelo for Fluminense is going to be a popular pick. That's a nice XGA, 0.33. He's played, I think, half the matches so far this season. I just don't really trust Fluminense as a team. Other picks, Bragantino, they have the #1 defense, XG, X goals conceded in the last 5. Sao Paulo is tied for the bottom of the XG, so I do like to target Bragantino defenders this week. And Capixaba is a nice option, and he has the highest average out of all these players. So I like Capixaba as a pick again this week. For the second option, I do like Piqueras for Palmeiras. Flamengo has a high flying attack. However, it's at home for Palmeiras, and Flamengo gives up the most points to opposing teams, laterals or fullbacks so far this season. So I like Piqueras as an option. He does get forward quite a bit, and we know Flamengo has the tendency to go off the rails. If they go a goal or two down, could end up 3 or 4 to Palmeiras. Center backs, Avelar for America Mineiro on penalties. Very high XGA, and that doesn't include penalties, so I like him as an option. He has a very high MPV for a defender, over 10 points. So if you're struggling money-wise, I might go without him this week. However, I'm doing pretty good in that area, so I do like Avelar as a pick. Cuesta, very high average, but tough matchup at Grêmio this week. We have a couple Santos guys, Messias and Joaquim. Low XGAs, but a high chance at a clean sheet this week. I do like them. And then, Santos for Bragantino. I like Bragantino's matchup this week. Mentioned it before, so I do like him as a pick. Goalkeeper is more of a wide open position, and for me it's down to 2 guys. If Cunha didn't have that huge haul last week, I would like him, especially because you could do the goalkeeper hack, so no risk of negative with him. Perry and João Paulo, you cannot do the goalkeeper hack with. You have to start them, so if they get negative points, they will be in your team. So there's a downside to them, but I do like those 2 guys as the top picks. They get a lot of saves per match, and they face teams that either can't score in Goiás or put up a lot of shots in Grêmio's case against Botafogo. So I do like those 2 players. João Paulo with a lower MPV, and he might just edge it for me. I do like Paulo as my keeper. If you wanted to go cheaper, Clayton for Red Bull Bragantino is a nice pick. And since my budget would be an issue in that case, I don't like Cunha since it's more likely to lose you money this week. Here's my team. For this week as it stands, we have Dudu from Palmeiras, Eduardo Sacha, and Paulinho captain for Atlético Mineiro, Benitez for America Mineiro, Cristaldo, and Rafael Veiga in the midfield. I also have Piqueras, Avelar, Santos, and Capixaba in defense, as well as the Red Bull Bragantino coach. And then I do have João Paulo in the goalkeeper spot. So a lot of teams here, and some players from some teams that we don't usually have. America Mineiro guys, and we've loaded up on Bragantino guys. So interesting week, and it's going to be that type of week with the top 4 teams playing each other. And here's the most popular team of the week so far for the masses, and it's pretty different from my team. The only similarities being João Paulo, Capixaba, Veiga, and Paulinho. So this is going to be a very interesting week with a lot of ways to differentiate, and it's going to be interesting. So we'll see. That's all for me. Good luck this week, and I'll see you next time.